What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James, man. I'm back in the building, and it's the good, the bad, the ugly. Didn't get to go over that with the Magic. Been doing it every day for probably like the last week or so. But we got the good and the bad, the ugly. My version. Last couple days, sorry we didn't get Positively Relentless off yesterday. My dog DDP was under the weather, going through with his voice. So please send some prayers out to him. Get better, DDP, if you watch this. But let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. First of all, a good is Mavericks bounced back after losing that heartbreaker to the OKC Thunder, which they shouldn't have lost that daggone game. But we're not going to talk about that. Good is Dallas is on a 2-game win streak, won the last 3 of the last 4. Could be on a 4-game win streak, but they have won the last 3 of the last 4, beating the Nets, the Orlando Magic, and now the Utah Jazz last night. So that is a definite good. Mavericks on a 2-game win streak. Talk about it quickly with the Magic game. Mavericks won 114 to 105. Luka did his thing. I think that was the Luka game. Luka really won that game. Dropped 44 points. Wasn't too many really to say about it, but I will say this about the Magic. They're like 1-7 right now. If they stay with that team, in my opinion, if they stay with that team, I mean, they got Wendell Carter. I love Paulo Pachero. They got the Franz Wagner. Jalen Suggs is over there. Cole Anthony, Bobo. I don't know if they still got Mo Bamba, but they got a nice young squad, man. Obviously, you definitely want to play a team like that because, you know, they're RJ Hampton too. So they got a lot of young talent over there. And they are talented. They got some talent, but they're very young. They're not going to probably play the greatest defense. They're going to make mistakes. Paulo didn't play the greatest in that game. I think he was like 6 for 20, one of his worst games of the year. He still dropped like 18, but they were missing, I believe, Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony that game. So that's what really hurt them. They didn't have any true guard play. RJ Hampton came off the bench, dropped like 12 or 15 points, I believe. But that was really the difference to me. They out-rebounded the Mavericks. They had more second-chance points, but that guard play really hurt them. I think if they had that guard play, it could have been a little different, but Luka really took over that game, and that was really the biggest asset in it. Biggest thing in me, Tim Hardaway had a really good game off the bench as well. Christian Wood had 10 rebounds. Dwight Powell, another good game from him. And Josh Green. I love those two, especially Dwight Powell. I've been screaming for him to get more minutes. I said if this JaVale McGee thing is not working like it should, start Dwight Powell. He started. That was the first game he started in that OKC, and he had 13 points. He only had 2 rebounds, so he got to get better. But I love the way, Spencer Dinwiddie. Go check out that video if it's on Twitter. I retweeted it, how Spencer Dinwiddie was talking about how Dwight Powell is the ultimate professional. He is. I just love his energy. We know what he is. He's limited, but he plays hard. He plays defense hard. He hedges. He's an energy guy. He lifts the team as far as that energy, and I like it. And I like Josh Green too. These are goods that I'm talking about, by the way. I like how Josh Green is growing. He ain't getting no 12, 15 points, but it doesn't matter. He's giving you good defense. He's hitting some good three-pointers. Had a big three-pointer last night. I just like the way he's playing, man. I like how they signed him. And I think his arrow is still going up. So I really like Josh Green getting work. I really want to see more Jaden Hardy, because I feel like you're going to need him later on. So get him minutes so he doesn't look like he's shell-shocked and just be a wasted rookie year. He got some minutes against OKC. So, but definitely good with those guys. And, Mavericks win the game. Now, Mavericks played the Utah Jazz. That's always a tough team to me because no matter who is coaching the Jazz, who has the Jazz, Jazz been tough since I've been watching basketball since I was young. When they had Mark Eaton in, and they had the Karl Malones and the John Stocktons and the Hornaceks and the Byron Edwards, Blue Edwards, like they always brought it. Like anytime you play the Utah Jazz, you're gonna have a tough game. No matter who the coach is there. Now they had Quinn Snyder there. They played you tough. They got the Markinson kid that came over. I think that was a good pickup for them. I think he's going to be good. He's going to. If they stay there, if he stays there, that He can get multiple contracts with there because he's a perfect player for that team. Jordan Clarkson, he's a dog. He's underrated to me. He will give you the business from the outside. He gets to the hole. He's an underrated player. Mike Conley, they you know, Utah's going to play you tough. Anyway, they was giving Dallas the business, had up to a 15-point lead. But the biggest thing in this, the good to me in these, because I really didn't talk about bad and ugly. There wasn't really a lot of bad and ugly. Except getting out-rebounded and second-chance points in that Orlando game. That's bad and ugly. But if we're talking about, like I said, good things, is the last 2 games, the Mavericks have won with points in the paint. In games they've lost, points in the paint, they lose at points in the paint. And with that inside firepower that the Magic had with the inside game, and then with Utah, really didn't have a lot of bigs, but they really were penetrating that hole. That's where Dallas, I feel like, suffers. Guards getting in the paint. Shai Alexander did it. Guards getting in the paint. Guards getting in the paint. That's an issue, and that's where the points in the paint. That's where they lose them points in the paint. But these last 2 games, they won the points in the paint differential, and they won. And I feel like that's a big difference. You can't continue to let guards get inside, so they got to continue. And I saw the defensive intensity, especially in that second half. Guys were running at the ball. They make a quick pass. They're running out there. Double team, dumping underneath. There was just a lot of action when the ball was being rotated by Utah. Mavericks were matching it with the intensity in that second half. And to me, Luka really forced the issue of getting to the paint. And that's what I like. We know Dallas is a three-point shooting team, okay? Dallas is going to shoot about 35 to 40 pointers a game, right? They live by it, okay? Didn't have the greatest thing I think they shot like 33%. But the thing that really I liked was Luka, Dinwiddie, especially Luka, was forcing the action, getting to the paint. Too many times when Mavericks get leads or things of that nature, they want to just chuck up threes left and right, and that's how teams get back in the game, where they lose their defensive intensity. I didn't see that in this game against Utah. They battled. When Utah got that lead on them, they battled back, played good, tight defense, were rotating, helping, hedging, doubling. You just saw the intensity, and it worked. And getting to the paint, Luka was he was forcing the issue. He wasn't going to continue. He wasn't continuing to shoot 3. He was going to the hole, backing them in, making that defense work, you know. And I like when they force the issue going to the paint and don't just settle for the three-pointers. I think it makes them a better team. So I like that in that Utah game. Also, the big three, Luka, Dinwiddie, Christian Wood, all had over 20 points. Dinwiddie dropped 20. Wood had a double-double with 21 and 10. 2 back-to-back games with 10 rebounds. I like that. And, you know, they got to get better because they're bottom of the basement. Offensive rebounding, bottom of the basement. Defensive rebounding, so they got to continue to hit those boards. Dwight Powell. Josh Green, once again, gave good minutes off the bench. Continue to work Dwight Powell, man. He hadn't got no work for the first 4 games, and I have been screaming for him. Like I said, he's not a guy that you're scared of when you take it to the paint. He's not an enforcer, but he plays hard. He gives out all-out effort. He brings up the defensive intensity level. Same with Josh Green. That's why I like them. They play good defense. Not saying Bullock and Finney-Smith don't, but those guys bring that energy off the bench that you need, because Christian Wood is not a great defensive player. And we keep on screaming about Wood not playing at the end of the game. I get it. I've been screaming it too. I'm sure he's been screaming it. But when the one game he did finish the game, they were constantly taken to the hole against him, and he was not providing inside defensive presence. So maybe that's why. And you heard what Jason Kidd said. We kept him in the game at that one. It didn't end too well. Now, there's something that's in the air, and I'm going to talk about this right quick. I'll talk about it at the end. But anyway, the big three, Luka at 33. He's on a tear. He's leading the league in scoring, I believe, at 36 a clip, going crazy. So that was good, man. A bad, ugly free throw shooting. I think they shot like 58% from the free throws, average shooting like 73% from free throws. That's a bad and the ugly. It's been ugly all year. They've had games where they've just shot really bad from the free throw line. So they got to get in that gym and make these free throws, dog. Like I said, points in the paint, it didn't happen this game. That's a good thing. But the bad is they continue to let guards get into the paint. And when guards can get in the paint, there's no inside presence. JaVale McGee is not playing high minutes. Christian Wood is not the greatest defensive player. No, he's not. That's why he's out at the end of the games. And I want him to play more at the end of the games. But he's got to be able to provide a defensive presence if guys are going to the hole in the opposition. He's long enough to be able to block those shots. He's not a big, powerful player. He's like 215 pounds. I said that. He's 6'10", 215. So he's more of a small forward, but he can play power forward because of his length. But his length, you don't see it in the defensive side, especially when teams are going to the hole. You don't see it. He doesn't switch over fast enough. He's not just a great defensive player. And if teams are close in games, and yes, you want that offense out there, but if you can't stop anybody on the defensive side, that's why he's getting subbed. And I'm sure we don't want this to get messed up at the end of the day, I know. But he's got to get better defensively. I'm not making no excuses for Jason Kidd, but he's got to get better defensively, especially protecting the paint with that length. Got to. Doesn't matter if you're an offensive guy. You got to be able to play some defense. Okay? So, those are just things that stuck out to me. They've been talking about it in the air. They hope they don't do the Christian Wood thing wrong by Jason Kidd, you know, not putting him in at the end of the game and not starting him. And this could be leave a bad taste in the mouth of Christian Wood. I've been hearing in the streets they're trying to break him. I don't know what that means. I know why they got him coming off the bench. There's no firepower like that. I'm sure I want to start him too, but who do you have coming off the bench on the inside that's going to help? Maxi Kleber? No. Dwight Powell? No. Tim Hardaway Jr. is sometime. He's streaky. You don't have anybody on the inside presence. So he's got to get it. And if he's tired late in the game, I mean, you got to be able to monitor that. So I know a lot of people don't like that, but that's what it kind of is. So we'll see how that kind of works out at the end of the day with the Christian Wood thing. But he's still got to get better defensively in the paint. And, you know, like I said, Mavericks won 3 out of the last 4. Could have won 4 in a row. But that's a good thing. Christian Wood has continued to look good in the lineup. I'm glad they brought him in. I hope that continues to work out. Don't lose him because he's on a 1-year deal. And they were saying, this is what I'm saying to you, Mavs. Don't drop the ball on this Christian Wood thing, okay, please? Because this is a bridge. If this thing works out with Christian Wood and you can sign him to a multi-year deal, it brings more free agents here, and they don't have that, oh, it's all about Luka, and they don't care about nobody else, and it's just Luka, Luka, Luka. That's why them free agents don't want to come here. It's got to look like it's about other people instead of Luka. We already know Luka's the man, but it's got to be about other people on this team. So they got to tread lightly how they do this Christian Wood thing, and I hope they do the right thing and don't lose out on him. This can't be a one-and-done contract with him. He's got to sign a multi-year deal with Dallas. They got to make it good for him. They got to appease him because you need that presence that he offers. You can have a Jaden Hardy continue to grow. Maybe you can get him another couple free agents, but he needs to be a building block on your team. He can't be a one-and-done guy. You already lost to Jalen Brunson. You brought in Dinwiddie. You brought in Wood. That's a good counteractive off of the Jalen Brunson, but you can't lose Wood after 1 year, and you will if you're doing goofy things with him. So don't mess that up, Mavs and Mark Cuban. Don't do it. So this is kind of my 2 cents. Kind of good, bad, and ugly. It wasn't really good, bad, ugly. A lot of more good, a lot less bad, a lot less ugly. And it's always good when you win 3 out of 4, and you're climbing back in that that Western Conference because it's a tough division this year. So we'll see. Next game coming up, I didn't even check. We'll get that popping. Oh, next game is against the Toronto Raptors, I believe. That's going to be a game I'm going to intently watch because my homie, Gary Trent, who used to play for the Mavs and had a pretty good couple-year run with it, and if he didn't mess up that hamstring, he could have been a cornerstone, but that's when he messed up the hamstring and Dirk came right after him, and that was over for my dog, Gary Trent. I used to play ball with him back in the day in high school. Not high school, but we played in summer leagues together. You know, when I hoop, I was a baller back then. Yes, I was a hooper, just to let y'all know. But my dog, Gary, you know, he was with the Mavericks, and his son plays for the Toronto Raptors, Gary Trent Jr. He's a beast shooter. So I'm always interested in that. Got to give my Gary Trent Jr. love. Don't want you to win this game, but, you know, don't shoot so good in this game. No, we don't need them making 9 3-pointers in this game, so we'll see. But that's the good, the bad, the ugly from my end. Positively Relentless will be back at it next week for sure. We may pop one this week, who knows, but keep tuned. Keep on supporting this Big Game James with this Mavericks thing. I'm really putting a lot of my heart and soul into this. You know, I played the game of football. I coached the game of football, but I coached it in basketball, and I played a little more basketball than I did football. So I probably have a little bit more keen knowledge of it because I was in it more on the court wise. You know, that's the way it is. So support this Mavericks thing. It's going to continue to grow, man. I'm really going to push this Mavericks and go hard at it along with these Cowboys interviews coming up with these kids. But support it as much as possible. Let's really make that Mavericks thing grow on this channel, and let's get it. All right? So without further ado, that's it. Big Game James. I'm out. Peace.